early in the 12th century by a group of Benedictine monks. And the whole idea behind Lectio Divina is to allow the words of Scripture to saturate the core of our being. Lectio Divina literally means sacred reading or divine reading. A lot of us have seen what happens when the Bible is turned into a weapon, when it's used to beat people over the head with. A lot of us know what it's like to hear the Bible being used just as a way to reinforce what someone believes to be right and correct, using it for their own selfish agendas and purposes. Well, Lectio Divina is a way for us to say, this isn't about how we are going to utilize the Scriptures. We want to open up our hearts so that the Spirit can utilize the Scriptures to impact us in a deep level, at a core level of our being. And so Lectio Divina goes like this. It begins by reading a passage of Scripture. Then we enter into a time of reflection on that passage of Scripture. Then we enter into a time of response where we pray to God silently as a result of what we've heard and what's been instilled in our hearts. And then we end with a period of resting silently in the presence of God. So it's read, reflect, respond, and rest. And I will lead us in this moment. But as we begin, I just want those of you who feel comfortable to join me in closing your eyes and give yourself a moment here to center yourself. Allow yourself to be present to the presence of God in this moment. Slow yourself down a little bit. Bring your attention gently to your breath. Allow your inhaling and your exhaling to get a little bit deeper and deeper. And I will lead us in the reading of Psalm 131. Lord, my heart is humble before you. I don't consider myself better than others. I'm content to not pursue matters that are over my head, such as your complex mysteries and wonders that I'm not yet ready to understand. I am calmed and quieted in your presence. Like a contented child who rests on its mother's lap, I am your resting child, and my soul is content in you. O people of God, your time has come to quietly trust, waiting upon the Lord now and forever. Take a few moments here to reflect on a word or a phrase that may have stood out to you and allow the Spirit to speak within. Psalm 131. Lord, my heart is humble before you. I don't consider myself better than others. I'm content to not pursue matters that are over my head, such as your complex mysteries and wonders that I'm not yet ready to understand. I am calmed and quieted in your presence. Like a contented child who rests on its mother's lap, I am resting, and my soul is content in you. O people of God, your time has come to quietly trust, waiting upon the Lord now and forever. At this time, I invite you to respond to God in prayer. Whatever words or thoughts or emotions you want to express in this moment, bring that before God silently. Psalm 131. Lord, my heart is humble before you. I don't consider myself better than others. I am content to not pursue matters that are over my head, such as your complex mysteries and wonders that I'm not yet ready to understand. I am calmed and quieted in your presence, like a contented child who rests on its mother's lap. I am your resting child, and my soul is content in you. O people of God, your time has come to quietly trust, waiting upon the Lord now and forever. And now we enter into a time of wordless communion with the God who is above all thought and all words. Father, we thank you that your presence is always with us. We are so grateful that you speak to us. In this moment, God, we humbly choose to listen. May this stance be the stance that we take in all of life, allowing you to work in us and to work through us and to live as us. One moment in your presence, God, is more valuable than 1,000 moments doing anything else. We welcome you. We invite more of you in. Thank you, God. Amen. Beautiful souls who were baptized last Sunday. I want to thank those of you who took that step and who have been praying for all of these folks. We're really changing lives. And when people go down underneath that water, it's just such a beautiful picture of the old self dying and the new self in Christ coming alive. And that's really what this whole thing is about. It's about transformation from the inside out. Now, in light of that conversation, hello, Emily. Thank you for being with us. Can everybody say hi to my wonderful wife, who's going to be sharing a little bit with us this morning. And we want to talk to you about the topic of unleashing your creativity. Unleashing your creativity. There's a lot to say about creativity, but to get us started, I just want to remind you, in the universe that you live in, you live in a universe that is inherently creative. From the very beginning of time, everything in our universe has been changing and expanding and growing and diversifying into a variety of different forms. The Bible actually begins with this very profound theological statement. It says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." God is the creator. We are the created. But a lot of us tend to have a very static notion of creation. We think creation is something that God did a really long time ago, and just out of speaking it into existence, it came out a totally finished product. But the reality is creation isn't something that just happened a really, really, really long time ago. Creation is something that continues to happen. Creation is an ongoing process. Scientists are telling us that the universe is still expanding right now in this moment at accelerating rates. It's not slowing down anytime soon. So every single day, all of the galaxies in our universe are moving further and further apart from one another. There are trillions and trillions of planets out there in our universe. New ones are being formed moment by moment. There are trillions of galaxies out there in the universe. New ones are still coming into existence. Fun fact for you. I found out this week through Google. I don't know how reliable this was, but I'm just going to tell you what I read. That every second, 4,800 new stars are formed. Think about that. And just to help give context to that statement, the size of an average star is the same size as the sun. The sun is so massive and so big that you can fit 1,500 planets the size of Earth within it. Just in this second, 4,800 more of those things just came into existence. And there are some stars out there in our universe that are 100 times the size of the sun. Crazy. God obviously loves creating because God has not stopped creating. In fact, God's very nature, God's very essence is creativity, and everything that we see on this planet and in the entire universe is an expression of the divine creativity, including you. You are an expression of God's creativity in human form, and you were created to be a vessel through which the divine creative power can enter into this world and make new things. That's why many theologians say that you and I as human beings are co-creators with God. I love this quote by one of my favorite mystics. His name is Meister Eckhart, a Dominican mystic. He said, and not Dominican like Hispanic. I have to say that every time. Dominican was an order of, there's Franciscans, there's Dominicans, there's Benedictines in the Catholic Church, okay? He's like, oh, Dominicano, what's up, bro? Meister Eckhart. Okay. So here's what he said. What does God do all day long? God lies on a maternity bed giving birth. Think about that image of God. In other words, there's this birthing energy at work in existence. There's this life-giving power and energy and force that is propelling everything forward moment by moment. This life-giving energy and power is what we have come to call the Spirit of God in the Christian tradition. And St. Thomas Aquinas, the great Roman Catholic theologian, once said, the same Spirit that hovered over the waters in the beginning of time hovers over the mind of the artist at work. That's some beautiful stuff. But here's the special catch. All of us are artists. All of us are creatives. God created you to create. That is inherent in your purpose. If God's essence is creativity and you and I come from God and we are not separate from God, if what Jesus said is true and we are all one with each other and with God and with everything, then guess what? Creativity is at the core of who you are as a human being. Because the life-giving power of the Spirit is within you, you have the power to create within you. Because the Spirit of God is within you, imagination is within you, creativity is within you. All of us were created to create. And God always creates things that create themselves.
Yes. We really want you guys to know that people need to start seeing themselves as creatives because I truly believe that once you see yourself as a creative, you stop limiting yourself in your life. We're constantly creating on a daily basis. We can then see the world with infinite possibilities. An artist, a creative isn't just an artist, a painter, a musician. It's everybody sitting within this room. You're constantly creating from the environments that you live in. Raising your families the way that you do, the way that we do our marriages, our work life, the way that we dress. Speaking of which, you guys like this outfit I created?
Jeez Louise.
Guess where I found this?
That's not her shirt. That's not her shirt, bro. And that's the one I wanted to wear today, too.
You're such a liar. I found it. I created
so
it.
comfortable,
I
man.
created it because I'm a creative. Thank you. Thank you. So I want to share with you guys a few definitions of creativity or a creative. To create is to make something. It's starting with nothing and ending up with something. Seeking something that doesn't exist and making it so. Creativity is not a mood. Creativity is not a gift. It's the very nature of God inside of you.
So good. So what we want to share with you today, very simply, are 4 ways to unleash your creativity. If all of us are creative, how can we maximize our creativity, okay, to become the best version of ourselves and to do the work that God has called us to do in this world? So we're going to start with number 1, pay attention to your life. If you want to be creative, if you want to be a channel through which divine creativity can flow, you've got to pay attention to your life. Cultivating creativity is all about making new experiences, living your life to the full, letting every experience mold you, shape you, form you, teach you. It's drawing inspiration from everything all around you all the time. And I'm not just talking about drawing inspiration from the fun stuff, the spectacular stuff, the miraculous stuff. I'm talking about drawing inspiration and finding life in the regular, ordinary, mundane, routine elements of your life. A lot of us love being busy. We live in a culture that is all about rushing things. We got to get from this meeting to the next meeting, and then I got this phone call, and I do this all the time. Hey, Danny, how's it going? Oh, man, I'm just so busy. And if we're not busy, that means we're not important. Creativity takes you slowing down. When you slow down, you can begin to notice things that previously you were just walking straight past. And the ideas were there the whole time. God was speaking the whole time, but you were just blinded to it because you've got somewhere you got to go. There were people there that God wanted you to help, and there were opportunities here for you to experience new life, but you just had another phone call. Creativity means you got to slow down and really immerse yourself into your life. What is happening right now in this moment? This is where your attention needs to be. I know it's hard because I have conversations with people, and while I'm having conversations with people and they're trying to tell me something, if I'm checked out, I'm checked out. My mind's already thinking about 50 million other things. It takes practice to bring your attention back to the present moment. But in this present moment, that is where you find God. That is where you find creativity. And that is how you begin to notice things that will inspire you to become a better version of yourself. You got to take a deep dive into your life. There's this one Zen proverb that goes like this: before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. You know, if you were to go to a monastery, even until this day, with monks or you visit a group of nuns, they're not doing anything crazy and spectacular. For them, it's all about doing their chores, going to their room and doing their prayer. And then they're usually in silence for most of the day, but those few moments when they get to talk, they're present to one another. They're taught how to really be mindful when they do everything, when they're eating, you know, when they're reading scripture. The whole point is, be present to your life. Be present to when you're doing the dishes, do the dishes. When you're taking out the trash, take out the trash.
That's right.
Those are the responsibilities that I have at the house. That's why I brought it up, okay? This is real
say
life,
it one more
people.
time.
Wow. Yeah, so anyways, let's move on from this conversation. But yeah, when you're talking to other people, be present to other people. Creativity flows from living in the present moment. If you always want everything to change, if you need this person to be different, if you need this circumstance to be something other than what it is, if you're always dissatisfied and discontent with this moment, you're always going to be unproductive and you're always going to be uninspired because you're positioning yourself against the natural flow of life. So the key is for us to get out of our head and get into the moment so that you can begin to notice. And then you come to the present moment with a sense of gratitude, with a sense of awe and wonder. Remember, how you do this moment is how you do every moment. So don't think about what I'm saying for tomorrow. This is about right now. What is your attitude and stance now in this moment? Yes, there's going to be thoughts going through our mind, a bunch of them, but those thoughts are not you. You can detach from those thoughts. You can bring your attention to what's happening in this present moment. And the issue is a lot of us, like, we need solutions. We need answers, but we're stuck in this repetitive pattern of thought, and we don't see anything else other than the problem at hand. That's why creativity tends to happen when other people come in with a fresher perspective, right? With a broader perspective, and they can say, hey, have you tried it like this? Have you seen it this way? So yeah, we do need people to be creative, but guess what? If you quiet down your mind a little bit, if you learn how to cultivate interior silence and stillness, the more you can detach yourself from that mental chatter, the more you'll be able to really save yourself from that repetitive thought process that you can't seem to get out of, which then allows you to look at the present situation with new eyes. So you can see new opportunities, new possibilities right in front of you. There's a religious scholar by the name of Hudson Smith, and he speaks of this concept known as creative quietude. Creative quietude. Okay, the idea, the premise behind creative quietude is that supreme creativity coexists with supreme relaxation. And I know that sounds paradoxical because most spiritual truth is paradoxical. But supreme creativity coexists with supreme relaxation. We're always going. And when that's what our state of being is, we're living in a very narrow box because I've got something to do, I've got somewhere to be. This is how my life is. We're closed-minded instead of open-minded and clear-minded. Okay, creative quietude is this idea that the more balanced you are internally, the more centered you are within yourself, the more effective and efficient you will be at doing what it is that God has called you to do. If you look at creators, artists, a lot of the best work that they do comes about unintentionally. Like for me, for example, with my sermons, I take a couple of clips from my messages every Sunday and I post them up on Facebook and Instagram just to kind of show people what we're up to at Heartway and encourage people during the week. And so I spend a lot of time, I look at the teaching and I see what I like and I cut out this piece and this is what I want it to be, whatever. And it takes me a little bit of time. Well, it's always funny to me that I put a lot of time and effort. It's funny because someone went up to Emily this week and was like, oh, Danny actually prepares for Sunday? And she's like, yeah, of course he prepares for Sunday. I guess because it seems I just come up here and talk. But yeah, I mean, and I do that too, but it takes a lot of practice to make it seem like you're just talking, really. And I put hours and hours of time behind what I'm presenting on Sunday mornings. But when it comes to those videos that I put up, most of the time the videos are clips of me saying things that I did not prepare or plan to say. Those are the moments sometimes that I think are the most powerful in the service. And you guys don't know the difference between what I planned or what I didn't plan, but I do. And sometimes I look at myself like, this is crazy, like how it just happens unintentionally. Okay, so you're moving in the wrong direction when you're trying too hard, when you're trying to force things to happen. If you're always trying too hard and trying to force things to happen, that means you're going to stay very preoccupied with your own self. You're going to be very hard on yourself. You're going to judge yourself. You're going to criticize yourself, and that's going to stifle your ability to act creatively in the world because you're always going to be your own worst enemy. Creativity isn't something that you need to force to happen. Creativity is something that you allow to happen through you by living in the present moment. One of my favorite teachers, Eckhart Tolle, says, all true artists create from a place of no mind. They create from a place of inner stillness. You can't create when you're in a state of restlessness, anxiety, frustration, stress. Creation always comes out of love. In fact, that's what we learn from what we see in existence. That's a theological statement. God is love, and God created everything out of love. And the best things that you will create in life will come out of your love. What do you love? What do you have a passion for? Focus on that. Tap in on that. You've got to love. And when I say love, I mean love everything. Love life. When you can love life with all of its ups and downs and the good times and the bad times and the struggle and the drama and even that stuff excites you, when you can love every person that you meet, when you can love God, when you can love every experience and every moment because you know that God is coming to you in and through that, that's when creativity begins to flow. So the first things first is you got to pay attention to your life. Slow down a little bit. Take notice of what's already happening all around you. Draw inspiration from your experiences and really make sure that you are in a healthy place inside so that you can create from a place of passion and love instead of a place of anxiety and frustration.
Yeah. So now our second one is to take chances. Our second way of unleashing our creativity. A little bit more recently, Danny and I started taking yoga classes. And a lot of times in the yoga classes, they make you do these really hard poses and they give you different variations. One of my good friends teaches, so she's constantly like pushing us to be better and do more things. So they give you different variations. Of course, the higher the variation, the harder the poses. So I've been loving yoga because it's reminding me how it's just like life. When you're in these difficult poses, you have to remember to breathe and how important it is also to challenge yourself. So a lot of times when she tells me, oh, do the different variation, she pushes you to do it. I have looked around at everyone and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do that because you're probably going to fall because they're very hard. So she tells you, after classes have been going on, she's been telling me more and more like, oh, just try them. So actually me and Leisha do it together a lot. And we've been trying these new variations. And in my head, I tell myself, okay, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to fall. Whatever, I get back up. So we've been trying the harder variations, and the fact that we've been able to do them has been just so cool. I remember every time we look at each other and we're like, oh my God, we just did that. Even Danny, I saw Danny the other day. He was doing do you guys know what a wheel is? A wheel is like when you're...
Want me to show you? No, I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
Can you show
them?
Yeah.
No way. That's not happening.
No. A wheel is like when you like bend backwards and it's a back bend basically.
Listen, this is working wonders for me because there was a period of time where I was not able to touch my shoulders like this.
That's true.
Because of my biceps in the way or whatever. I thought it was because of that. Now I can do it fine. But it took a lot of practice to be able to. I'm so happy. Now I can scratch my own back. I mean, it's great, dude. Yeah.
It is great, yeah.
So practice those moves, people. That's the only one I'm going to show you today. That's it.
You're so funny. So yoga has just me trying these new challenges and these new variations. It's been teaching me, like I said, just how it relates to life and how many times we all kind of find ourselves in our lives just settling and staying in that one comfortable spot. How many times have we found ourselves settling with our jobs, with ourselves, with our relationships, just overall, just because we have that fear that we're going to fall. And we never get to see the other side, just having that fear. I want you guys to see this comfort zones graph, which, by the way, if you can't see this very well, you guys can bring it up on the Bible app. And you can save it and zoom in and whatever. Okay, so the first zone is the comfort zone. This is where you feel safe and in control.
I love that zone.
Of course you do. The second zone is the fear zone. This is where you lack self-confidence, you find excuses, and you're affected by others' opinions. The next zone is the learning zone. This is where you deal with challenges and problems, you acquire new skills, you extend your comfort zone. And then the last zone is a growth zone. This is where you find your purpose, you live your dreams, you set new goals, and you conquer objectives. I truly believe that we should try and stay in the learning and the growth zone for, as much as we can, because that's truly where we're gonna find growth. It is within our mistakes that we're gonna grow. Those are our greatest teachers in life. We need to stop holding ourselves back, stop letting our fear holding us back, because we're all gonna have the fears. It's literally a part of life. It's all a part of it. Falling only creates for a stronger rise, because every time I have fallen in yoga, I have just found myself getting right back up, and I try it again the next time, and I do it even better, and I get even stronger, and just I learn new ways, and I learn new things about myself, and that's truly what falling is. It's just your greatest teacher. Really, truly, it really just is. No matter how old you are, how young you are, we all need to live our lives knowing that this is the youngest and the oldest that we will ever be. We need to learn to be present and enjoy this moment. We need to stop fearing the failure, stop fearing the unknown. We need to experiment. We need to break rules. We need to be unafraid to dream. Creative people are better able to live with uncertainty because they can adapt their life. They can adapt their thinking to allow for the flow of the unknown. Make room for the unknown in your life. That's where beautiful things happen. Know that time doesn't stop. If you don't chase after that dream and take those risks, nobody's going to do it for you. They're just going to sit there, or somebody else is going to take them on.
I love that. And by the way, I've said this before, but when your goal is to grow, there is no such thing as failure. Because every so-called failure just becomes another stepping stone towards your transformation and towards your growth. So yes, we've got to take chances. Yes, we've got to take risks. Yes, we've got to break the rules. And we have to do it courageously, knowing that your worst fear may possibly happen. So like for
Even Heartway 2.0 started from us taking a risk, you know?
Yes, that was
So many things starting Heartway overall.
all of it. For me, even communicating the way that I do without my notes, for example. Listen, and sometimes I'll use notes when I want to take a break every once in a while, but I have always wanted to just communicate without notes. I thought if I'm going to be a communicator, I want to be the best communicator there is, and I've worked really hard to be able to do that. Well, in order to do that, you've got to know what the worst possible thing can happen. What's the worst possible thing that can happen in my case scenario if I'm preaching without notes? I forget, right? And I remember the first couple times that happened, I was like, I forgot. I don't know what's that. You know, I'm freaking out internally. Now I forget like every 2 weeks, and I'm like, what was I saying again? Can y'all remind me? Can you help me? Oh, okay, right, yeah. So the biggest thing that I feared for so long that got me so nervous is if I preach without notes and I may forget what I'm going to say now, it's just like, oh yeah, of course that's going to happen. Of course I'm going to forget what I'm going to say. And it's all a part of it. So somebody can help me decide what I'm going to say next, or I can just make something up, whatever. But the worst thing that can happen, okay, the worst thing that can happen probably will happen, and that will be the best thing for you, because once you face that fear, it's not there anymore, because you realize, like, I survived it. I'm here. The worst has happened. The worst has already happened. I'm ready for it now. And that's going to just reinvigorate you to be able to take more chances and take more risks, because the whole thing is about falling down, getting up, falling down, getting up. We're all stumbling our way to wherever it is that we're going. Which leads us to the third tip and the third way to unleash your creativity. And this one is my personal favorite. It's being yourself. Be you, and be unapologetically you. Who you are as a human being with your unique characteristics, with your particular experiences in life, with the story that you've had to endure and go through, all that makes you you, your quirks and your faults and all of the weird stuff about you, your giftings, your talents, your abilities, all of that stuff combined together makes you one of a kind. All of us are one of one. Okay, so does anybody have like really cool, expensive stuff that's limited edition? I know you do, bro. I'm looking at this guy right here. This guy wears his limited edition every day. I have like, you know, when I was younger, I used to collect cards, like baseball cards, basketball cards. In high school, I collected shoes.
Don't lie about the Nintendo.
I did collect Pokemon cards. And there's a new Pokemon game coming out, and I'm buying it too. So So I'm a nerd. So anyhow, I used to collect shoes. I have some shoes that say on it like, this is the 100 out of 300. Okay, so limited edition. You are one of one. You are one of one. God does not make copies. God only makes originals. And every original that God makes is a masterpiece. So first and foremost, you need to come to discover what it is that you truly have inside of you. You need to come to see yourself for who you really are. The creativity, the goodness, the beauty, the love of God that exists within your soul, when you're able to tap into that and then begin to express that in and through your personality, that is when the world will begin to see an aspect of God in and through you that cannot be seen anywhere else. Think about it. If creativity is who we are, if creativity is our essence and our true nature, then there's nothing we need to do to be creative. We simply need to be. And who we need to be is ourself. I can't tell you how many folks I come across who have ideas. They want to do things. They want to create something. They want to start a new business or a podcast or this or that, or they want to write a book. But the reason why they don't is because when they look around at everybody who's doing it, they're saying, these people are saying everything that I want to say. These people are already doing all the things that I want to do. In fact, it seems like they're doing it even better than I can do it, so I might as well not do it at all. Anybody ever had that feeling? Where you just feel like giving up before you even start because it seems like everybody's already doing it and saying it and probably doing it and saying it better than you think that you can? Well, guess what? Yes, there may be a bunch of other people who are already saying it and who are already doing it. But nobody has said it or done it the way you will say it and do it. Because you are you. And there's only one you. So part of cultivating creativity is learning from other people, taking bits and pieces from others that you admire, putting it all together and making it your own. But that process of putting it all together and making it your own, that's what makes your contribution special. Your advantage is that you get to put your own spin on things. You get what I mean? And yeah, you have to be patient with yourself because it's going to take time for you to actually develop your strengths and find your own niche, find your own voice. So for me as a communicator, I feel like it's only been over the last year that I've finally come to find my own voice. For a while, I feel like I was sounding a lot like the people that I looked up to and the people that I mentored, which is fine and it's okay because when you're starting out, that's what you do. Eventually, over time, the more you practice, the more you find the ability to develop your own voice. So, fun fact that will be interesting for some of you to know. The second week of Heartway, okay, we launched January 17th, 2016. That Sunday, as soon as we finished, we had a huge party here. Hundreds of people. My boy Anthony Evans, who's a recording artist, was killing it on here. Some of y'all were at the lunch. I mean, we had a blast, and there was no room to breathe in here. Well, that same day, I got on a plane, and I went to California because a mentor that I really admire by the name of Rob Bell was doing a 2-day workshop on communicating. And I want to be the best communicator that I can be, so I'm learning my craft. And so I went up there, and I was with him. And there was a point in time in the conference where he said, does anybody need help putting anything together? Like, do you have to speak sometime soon? You need to come up with something? Does anybody need help? Tell us what your idea is and what you're thinking about. And nobody was raising their hand, and I was sitting in the front, so he just pointed at me, and he's like, what about you? Danny from Miami, which is what he called me. And I told him, I was like, well, this is cool. Yesterday, I started a church. He's like, what? Why are you here right now? I'm like, I don't know. Help me, because I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I just need help. And then he's like, well, what are you talking about next Sunday? I said, I have no idea. I really did not have no idea. So he's like, well, okay, tell me how you feel. How do you feel? And I'm like, well, I feel kind of tired. You know, but it's a good tired, right? Like we put so much effort and work behind putting this all together, and I'm tired, but it's a good exhaustion, you know? It's an exhaustion that's coming from doing what I love. He took that little piece, he gave me 30 minutes of content about the difference between good tired and bad tired. I recorded everything that he said. On the plane ride back home, I wrote it all out in an outline form. I memorized it on Thursday, and I presented it to everybody at church on Sunday. It was verbatim everything that man gave to me. So before I delete it, okay, you may still be able to find it. That's just a little secret I'm letting you in on. Okay, is that I literally preached the second sermon, and that sermon was given to me. I didn't even make it myself. But my point is, when you're starting off like that, that's normal. You know, you borrow stuff from people that you love, but then over time, you make it your own. You find your own voice. That's why one person defines creativity as copying smarter. That's why competition is so pointless. Why are we comparing ourselves with one another? We don't own any of this stuff, right? We should be inspiring one another. What's your idea? How do you do it? Oh, man, I like that. I should do it like this. Oh, I like that you're doing it like that. I'm going to try it like that too. And we're all supposed to be just helping each other out. You know, but we turn it into this consumeristic thing where creativity is not an end in itself anymore. Creativity is just a means for us to get something else. Money, influence, fame, popularity, culture, that stifles creativity. True creativity is just giving yourself to what you love simply because you love it. That's what it is. So don't ever change who you are for the sake of meeting other people's preferences. Do what you do because you love doing it, not because you're trying to get anything out of it. I had to make the decision a long time ago that even if Heartway were to disappear tomorrow, I would still probably be doing this same thing in another way, shape, or form. If Heartway blew up and I wasn't the lead pastor of this church anymore, I'd probably, after a couple of months of just being sad, I'd probably text some of y'all and be like, hey, you want to go out to the beach or come over and we can just hang out for an hour, talk about life, spirituality, pray together, see what happens. Because that's just what I do. I'm not doing this because I want other people to clap for me or like me or any of that stuff. I'm just doing this because I love it. All that other stuff is icing on the cake. When you're able to get there, that's when creativity starts flowing because you're not concerned anymore. You're not operating out of fear anymore. I'm not worried about what anybody else is saying or doing. Jesus said, my only concern really is to allow the light that is within me to shine out from me. And Jesus said, nobody takes a lamp and puts it under a basket. You got to take the lamp and you put it on the nightstand so that everybody who walks in the room can be illuminated by that light. Let your light shine. Be confident in who you are. Who you are with all of your craziness is exactly who God wants you to be. And the faster you can become more comfortable in your own skin and the more you can accept yourself, the more is going to be able to come through you and flow through you and make a difference in this world. Let me read to you this passage of scripture in Romans. The Apostle Paul puts it like this. In this way, we are all like the various parts of a human body. Each of us finds our meaning and function as a part of Christ's body. So let's just go ahead and be what we were made to be without enviously or pridefully comparing ourselves with each other or trying to be something we aren't. Come on, somebody say amen to that. That's a good one. Number 4.
This is the last point, embracing the process. I actually created this graph I want to share with you guys about what it's like to be a creative or really just anyone who lives. So you start something, you start super high, you start so excited, you're telling yourself, this is so amazing, I'm excited I started this. Then we go a little bit down to, this is harder than I thought. Then we go even lower where we tell ourselves, this sucks. Why did I even do this? Then we go even lower to, I suck. And then we go back up. Actually, I'm not that bad. Then we go even higher. This is going to be okay. And then we go back down. Everyone is better than me. You start comparing yourself. And then you go back up. This is awesome. And then you just keep going through the cycle. How many of you guys have found yourselves in this cycle of life? This is me all the time. You're going to have so many moments in your life where you think you're going to suck and you're going to want to quit, but that's really just all a part of it. We need to learn to embrace every season that we see here and just know that it is what it is and it's going to happen and it's going to come and you're only going to get stronger each time. I used to actually, when I started my business, a lot of people they use this term ghosting, where you just never hear from them ever again. People will inquire my work. I'll spend time writing them back. I'll meet with them in person. I'll give them an hour or two of my time. I'm emailing with them. I'm doing phone calls with them, texting them, writing them contracts, invoices, and only for me to never hear from them again. Something happens and they just kind of ghost me. For a long time, I would respond to those moments in a lot of anger and just sadness, doubting myself as an individual, thinking I was never good enough, overthinking those situations, asking myself, what could I have done better? I would beat myself over it for months with a lot of time and self-love and just really a lot of the things that you said. I have been able to create the space for me to grow from these experiences and just know that I don't need to respond in the ways that I did, and these moments shouldn't be a statement of my value or worth. Instead, I created the space for it to be just what it is. Just like I said, these seasons they just are what they are. They're gonna happen, and like I said, we're just gonna learn to accept the situations and get better with them. You're gonna doubt yourself. You're gonna want to give up when you're going through all these things. But I want to encourage you to use these obstacles as opportunities to grow instead of excuses to quit. I actually decided to start my branding business not too long ago, and that actually happened from me being super slow in my work and I mean, obviously I always have something to do. I like to have even more work because I truly enjoy working. But it was through a season of where I was thinking, I was probably in one of the low ones, that I decided to pick something good from that and create something new. Because I was in a good state of being, I was able to create this new experience for myself. I believe that we need to create success from the inside out. We need to work on our inner peace, because at the end of the day, our success shouldn't be numbers. It should be happiness and peace. If you're not happy doing what you're doing, when the challenges come, you're gonna wanna quit, start a new thing, and then quit again, and then you'll start something else, and then you'll probably quit that too, because you have no self-love or peace or happiness. Your goal is success and not happiness. Peace, love, and happiness should always be our end goal in this life. A little bit more recently, I've been seeing this quote come up on social media. It says, if your life just got harder, that probably means you just leveled up. So I've actually been reading this so much, and I actually hate reading that. Because I don't believe that things should get harder. I think things are still gonna be just as hard, but to me, leveling up means that I'm learning to better deal with my issues that come to me, that life isn't getting harder. It's getting easier because my end goal is peace and happiness, not a harder life. I'm learning how to better deal with my situations. I'm learning how to better love myself so that when these hard situations come, they don't faze me. I'm not brought down by them. Life doesn't feel like it's harder. Life feels like it's easier. Life challenges are gonna come, but you're gonna be so much more equipped to handle those. You can create an easier life by changing your mindset and working on your mind to react better to these situations. We all have moments where we're gonna wanna give up, we're gonna doubt ourselves, we're gonna think we're not good enough. But I want you to know that people not reacting to your work in the way that you want them to doesn't mean anything about your value or your worth. It's all really just about the creative process. Like Danny said, some people are gonna like you, some people aren't. And that's okay. As long as you are always you, that's all that truly matters. And it's really just about loving what you do. When you love what you do, nothing else matters. You are living in that state of peace and love and happiness. Just this year, I went through this graph, probably like 2 or 3, 4, 5 times where I'm just like up and then I'm down and then I'm up and then I'm down. Just this past summer, I remember I was crying to Danny. I was like, I suck. I'm gonna quit. Everybody's so much better than me. Meanwhile, this past year has probably been one of the best years of my business. And here I was, thinking I suck, going to the everyone is better than me, comparing myself. It's literally just a part of it. We all go through it. And I think we need to learn to be more patient with ourselves and know that it's okay. It's okay to feel down and go through these seasons and know that they are just seasons. They are going to pass. I know that these downs are going to continue to happen, but now I'm so much more prepared because I have been doing so much of this work and just knowing and accepting, really. Just accepting. And now that I have my end goal is happiness and peace, nothing else matters. So I want you guys to go out and be creative. Think of yourself as a creative because it truly just opens up your worlds. You get to see things in a whole new light, in a whole new way. The world is yours. You can create really anything you want.
Yeah, and it's so important too when it comes to this idea of embracing the process. Like what that's looking like for me, every time my mind does this, which is daily, I go through these like little moments of insecurity and fear. I'm learning how to be kind to myself as I'm experiencing that. So, for example, one of the things that my ego loves to do is after I finish doing something, I backtrack and I tell myself, why didn't I do it like this? Have you ever had a conversation with somebody, or probably more like an argument, and then after the fact, you're like, oh, I should have said that. Why didn't I think about this in the moment? You guys know about that, right? Okay. So I do that a lot, even when it comes to my communicating, right? So I'll beat myself up over something I didn't say or something that I felt didn't go as I wanted it to. And to make it worse, I compound on top of that a bunch of guilt and judgment because I feel like I shouldn't even be feeling like that anymore. Like, oh, why am I even feeling like this to begin with? So then it's just even worse. Now I'm learning to actually look forward to the next time that my ego comes with that voice so that I can welcome it and accept it and be gentle with it and say, okay, there it is. I'm telling myself I suck today. Instead of believing that voice, I'm just going to be there and witness it. But notice the disassociation. You have to recognize that when your mind is saying, oh, I'm so excited, this is amazing, this is the best thing, and we're going to rule the whole planet, that's not true. And when you're all the way at the bottom and you say, I suck, I'm the worst, this is horrible, that's not true. None of that is true. You are that line underneath, that constant witness and awareness of your thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. You understand? You are the witness, the awareness of those thoughts. So when those thoughts come, you notice what's happening. You bring yourself to the present moment. You are gentle towards yourself. And before you know it, all of those thoughts will begin to subside, and they do it on their own. But remember this, whatever you resist will persist. Right? So if your mind is telling you, I suck, and now you're like, oh, why am I always telling myself that I suck, and now I really suck because I always tell myself that I suck, and you just make it worse? Instead of doing that, you detach, you witness, you are gentle towards yourself, and all of that subsides on its own. All right, let's pray. God, we thank you so much just for creating us and for instilling in us and embedding within us your own power to create. Allow us, Father, to find whatever it is that we are passionate about, to discover our meaning and purpose, to come to find out who we really are on the inside so that we can let the light that is within us shine out from us. God, today in this moment, I pray that you would give people the courage to be fully and totally themselves, that you would help us to embrace the entire process of life filled with so many ups and downs, that you would cause us to be fearless, to be bold, to take chances, to take risks, not to be afraid of failure. And God, more than anything, that you would remind us over and over again how important it is to come back to the present moment, to pay attention to our life, because you are always speaking, God. And now it's our time to listen. God, we give you all of the praise, all of the honor, and all of the glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Hey, thank you guys for joining us. We love you. Have a great rest of the week. We'll see you next weekend.